Hello everyone, my name is Angela Pierce. I'm going to be talking to you today about the digital gap that continues to exist generationally, rurally, and academically. Just to provide you an overview as far as what the digital divide means. The digital divide is pertaining to various technologies and broadband accessibilities. It pertains to those who have access to these options and those who does not. We're going to talk about how the digital divide separate communities, rural versus urban. We're going to talk about how the digital divide separates generations as well as how they separate individuals academically. Rural versus community. Based on where a person lives is determinant of what kind of broadband connectivity they have. There are a lot of rural communities out here that does have broadband connectivity, but there's very limitations that comes along with it. And primarily they're not to blame, whether it's the internet service providers, whatever, who primarily put these services out to individuals that in these areas to where the connection is just not as stable as they are in other communities. They're not as stable as they are, or not dependable as they are in inner cities or suburban areas. This is primarily affecting education systems that resides in these communities, where it diminishes the quality of education, even if these students and teachers have access to the hardware technologies or softwares of technology. If the internet connections or the broadband connectivity is scarce, then those apparatuses becomes useless. A lot of people are denied, don't have access to these various technologies because of their socioeconomic status, where technology is not cheap, particularly broadband connections. I mean, it's on the rise, it's in high demand, and with that being a high demand, it seemed like the prices has really jumped through the roof. So a lot of these communities or households does not have the access to or cannot afford these broadband connections or these digital apparatuses to help maintain or to help sustain social richness and to help bridge the gap between the digital divides. Accessibility to various resources are very scarce, and even if they could afford these, whatever, technology requires a lot of maintenance and upkeep. These rural communities, wherever, if those who live in urban communities and those who live in rural communities, those who does live in urban and suburban communities have high quality broadband connections. This means that they have increased social presence, they have opportunities for social richness, opportunities for jobs and employment. They have access to a lot of various things that a lot of people in the rural communities does not have access to. For instance, this is a primary contributor to the digital inequities or disparities that goes along with this, to where they're not given the same opportunities to establish a social richness or a social presence. They don't have the financial stability to maintain these apparatuses. They don't have, a lot of individuals don't have independence or the social support, and this leads them to not being able to get the opportunities that other people in the inner cities or the suburban areas are afforded. In reference to the technology rate, it's based on those who have access and those who are actually denied. There are a lot of communities that still does not have broadband connectivity, so that gives credence to the digital divide that currently exists. The majority of individuals in the U.S. who uses broadband connectivity, even though that is on the rise, there is still the urban communities still fall short. The rural communities still fall short when it comes to accessibility and adaptability. Again, even with being in the COVID-19 era, individuals in the rural communities are still not using broadband connections at the same rate or adopting these technologies at the same rate that their affluent counterparts are. again, it's based on income. A lot of people cannot afford to use technologies or to purchase technologies, let alone maintain these technologies. If something happens, if something breaks, if something falls apart, if they have to be replaced, they can't afford this. Even the same case with disabilities. Even they're when compared to normal individuals, a lot of disabled individuals are on the rise for using technology, but they still fall short based on the non-disabled individuals, based on the different generations. Younger adults are the primary users of technology. They've always had an increased rate of the usage of technology. They have always had an increased rate of adoptability of technology. They are able to maintain and sustain their technologies for whatever reason. But younger adults, when compared to older adults, is always on the rise. Some of the reasons why older adults do not use technology, it may be due to like physical debilitations or mental debilitations and things of that nature. There's a lot of older adults who are on fixed incomes who can't afford these technologies. There's a lot of adults who does not use technology because they don't have the social support, they don't have the training, and things of that, or they don't feel comfortable with using technology overall. So that contributes to the digital gap. In reference to technology, there is also a grade divide. In reference to the grade divide, meaning 65 individuals 65 years older, the digital divide is based on the level of education of these older adults. The more educated older adults are, the more likely they are to use, purchase, and adopt these various technologies. The same thing goes for ownership. Tablets and computers, they usually, even though tablets are like the middleman between smartphones and personal computers, people still use tablets, but the tablets are not used on the same level as smartphones, and tablets are not used on the same level as computers. Here we are looking at various charts to where it shows that the Generation X individuals are more likely to use tablets as opposed to the baby boomers or the Generation Xers or Yers, and compared to the digital immigrants. The digital divide among smartphones and its adaptability is continuing to rise as of 2011. You can see here to 2018, you can see the rate of increase when it comes to the different generations and their adaptability of technology. And as we said before, the older adults are starting to adopt technology on a more rapid pace, but they still fall behind the younger generations, who's considered millennials or Generation Ys or Zs. The digital divide from an academic lens. From an academic lens, there continues to be a digital divide, and it's based on community, or where you live, where you go to school, where your academic setting is at. Based on various institutions, a lot of institutions depend on government funding. They depend on various external sources for funding to help maintain and to sustain their technologies, to where the funding doesn't directly come from the pockets of the people who go there, and so to speak. But if we look at things from an academic standpoint, if you have individuals in affluent communities or private school communities, they are able to afford these technologies. They are able to afford the updates, the upkeep, the technical support, the software license. They have enough computers to go around, as opposed to looking at rural communities who are not able to sustain these technologies. They don't have enough computers to go around. If their computer becomes outdated, if it breaks down, they can't afford to replace it. And with that being said, it increases the disengagement for students. It diminishes the teacher's presence, the student's presence, the teaching quality. and just the students' overall academic achievement when compared to the more affluent schools who does have access to these various technologies. They have access to these, like again, these academic affluent students, or people who or school systems that can afford these technologies are provided with the necessary training, which makes a huge difference when it comes to looking at things academically and the academic experience overall. The academic divisions, those that's in rural communities, they're denied opportunities for various opportunities for learning. They are denied opportunities to collaborate with other students, or to collaborate with teachers, or to increase their social networking. Some have reported that it diminishes their academic achievement, and they become disengaged. It can increase dropout rates and attrition rates. Looking at things from a theoretical aspect, providing access to these information communication technology systems, ICTs, is an essential aspect when it comes to technology. Here we are in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic, and even before the pandemic hit, schools and all different types of education systems depended highly on technology for the academic success of their students, for their teachers, and for all stakeholders that's involved. If individuals are not provided with these technologies, it can have a detrimental effect on students, and it can also have a detrimental effect on teachers as well. So in reference to that, there is some potential solutions that can be done, and one of the primary ones is to have people become more proactive. That can help reduce the digital gap between individuals economic. With that being said, not necessarily depending on external funding or governmental funding for these school systems. It all depends on where you live again, but it also depends on like taxpayers. Are you paying your taxes? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Whatever. What are you doing to make a difference? How proactive, how reactive are you being to get this done? Even other school systems can collaborate with other school districts to help offer various wireless connectivity, whatever that can help, and also hardware that can help boost the academic experience for teachers and students. Again, bridging the gap. Even students, parents, teachers, whatever, they can be proactive, whatever, in order to bridge the gap academically, generationally, and communically. They can be proactive. They can provide internet access to various spaces and places that these individuals can go and use. Therefore, they'll help bridge the digital gap in that way. They can seek free services. They can seek affordable services that can help bridge the gap for the digital divide. They can seek social support, and this is particularly vital for senior citizens. Again, as I mentioned, the reason why a lot of older adults does not use technology is because they don't have the comfortability that the younger generation have to use these technologies. Whatever, they don't have the patience. A lot of them don't have the mental or cognitive abilities or the physical abilities to do so. So if individuals become more proactive, whatever, they can help reduce the digital gap. So in conclusion, as long as we are not being proactive, as long as we continue to be selfish and not help and not provide assistance to individuals that is in underserved and impoverished communities, the digital gap will continue to exist. This goes for older communities as well. The generation gap will continue to exist if we don't provide the support to our elders in the manner that they need. Being proactive around all boards. It's providing students and teachers with adequate training. It's providing them with dependable and the ability to sustain their equipment, their licenses, their softwares, and things of that nature. If students are provided with these digital apparatuses, whatever, that's not dependable, that breaks down and it can't be fixed, it doesn't do any good. So individuals around the communities, I mean, you have to take leadership to help reduce the digital gap, to help increase potential opportunities for formal education and employment. It can be accomplished, and all they have to do is seek the necessary support, know what questions to ask, know where to go to ask these questions, help find these internet or these digital apparatuses to help bridge the gap between generations, between education, and between generations. There is services out there that can help individuals provide. We just have to find out where these services are, how to get to them, and what questions to ask. So with that being said, this is the end of my video. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want you to stay safe, stay masked, and stay distance. This is Angela Pierce. I hope you like this video. Bye.